Yeah, framed up well.
Yeah, it's less about the video and more about that.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's worthy enough to make sure that it's actually framed right, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just push it back a little bit. Yeah, I think it's right. It's hard to tell because I was over there, you know.
So why don't I go check now?
Okay.
Because it'd actually be kind of difficult to frame both of us properly, right?
Yeah.
Plus, yeah, now sit back when you're... See, you're not even in the dang picture!
How about now?
Well, now I don't know if I am. No, you gotta scoot way down.
Hello? 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 Testing? How am I supposed to know if it's... Hello? Hello? I pressed record. Is anything happening?
How about now, brown cow?
Yeah. So it's the solid.
See? It's the blinking that is on mute.
Alright, so let's stop this. And I guess go back and play it. Because the gain might be way off. Nothing's coming out. Oh, I think it's because it's treating this as a speaker.
Maybe this cord isn't doing right because it's rebooted now like 3 times.
Well, yeah, how about you just get a wall outlet?
Where do you want to?
I got one from upstairs.
But I don't need it. I get it on my phone here. Just forget it.
Well, it'll probably be good to unplug it then because it keeps opening iTunes on my computer.
Okay.
Alright, so output. Yeah, I think that's the problem, but I don't know how to fix it right now.
Fix what?
That the output is...
Unplug it. You're a real expert at this. Why don't you hit play, man? Backwards.
How about now, brown cow?
Yeah. It's too hot.
A little hot.
So...
There's gain back here.
Yeah.
Why don't we turn that down?
Yeah.
How about that? much video space you got on that phone? Okay. You're like a Saudi Arabian prince or something.
Yes. So solid means on.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, that looks better.
Yeah. This is my test. What about you?
Yeah, I'll probably be talking around this. So I'll talk my normal voice just slightly more.
Yeah, that's significantly more. It sounds great.
Alright. Yeah, that looks better.
Yeah. This is my test. Okay. What about you? I didn't have headphones come out of here too, huh?
Oh yeah. That's how you listen to sound. I forget about that.
Okay. And you can run this through noise reducer on that?
Yeah. Alright. How about now?
You want to unplug the
How about now?
you want to unplug the fridge?
No.
Okay. Alright. How's that?
But it is something to consider.
Is that what we're doing? I should have brought my bag that has headphones in it.
Yeah.
Noise reduce.
How about now?
You want to unplug the fridge?
No.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah, let's just stick.
How's that?
But it is something to consider.
Is that what we're doing?
You got some heavy breathing going on.
Yeah. I mean, this sucker's sensitive, y'all. Alright. Let's go.
Alright.
I mean, what's your gain on that? Is that part of the problem? Maybe just take that sucker down.
Yeah, that's what this is. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
It says 0 right now.
Yeah, take that down a notch.
You can take it down in post.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright.
Final move. Don't save. Choose.
Rainbow Ridge Ridiculous. Rainbow Ridge Ridiculous.
Okay, you have a list. Let's talk about it. Is this muted?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you have a list. Let's talk about it.
So tonight we're going to talk about lists and some kind of New Year's resolution or New Year's goals achievements. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just after Christmas. We got the new year coming.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking, you know, a lot of people make New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who have different thoughts about those things. I have my own thoughts. I'm sure you do as well.
About resolutions?
New Year's resolutions specifically.
Okay. Okay.
But I view them as a subset of a larger goal setting culture that I do believe is very powerful, which I have my reasons for thinking that, which we can get into later, but
And more broadly, the goals are just a more specialized type of list, right?
true.
And so today we're going to talk a little bit about where we keep our lists and how we manage those. So let's dive in.
Okay, so how do you keep your list?
Well, as you know, Eric, I use a little notebook. It's Field Notes. And I keep several different lists in here. I keep a list of the things I like. I keep lists of tasks. I keep lists of things that I do or think or question during the day. But that's not the only place I have lists. I also input a lot of what I capture in a drafts app on my iPhone, which is really simple to very quickly capture information. I have Pocket, which is a place to store articles that I want to read. I have Audible now, where I'm reading audiobooks and storing bookmarks that I have to process later. And that doesn't even count email, right? Which is a whole nother set of queues or lists of things to do, or just tasks or inboxes.
Yeah. So you got your paper, you got the app, and then you've got more specialized apps such as email.
I tell you, I get overwhelmed when one of those gets out of control.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to have like a primary key in a database or something, where it's like something is the known good, and then the rest are just ancillary? Or if there's one list, like master list?
Well, I don't feel like I can. I don't personally have one master list, because then I'd be copying things over back and forth into, particularly between email and my notebook.
Yeah.
Like if I have an email task, then it stays an email. But if my action folder, a la getting things done, balloons, and it starts to get really mentally bearing on me.
Bearing. Yeah, one of those two. Okay,
One of
so
those,
yeah, I'll notice that I do things differently at work than I do in personal life.
Huh.
So like at work, I have people who, I go to meetings, I take notes, so it's paper. Then I get email requests, and that's email, and then I have a ticketing system.
Yeah.
I found that it drove me bonkers to have not one system that was primary, and having multiple lists in different areas was mentally challenging. So I finally just decided to choose one master, which I chose the ticketing system, and keep an inbox zero in both email and paper.
Okay.
So have like not as regular as a weekly review, but kind of like it's almost, in order for the system to even function, you have to have a weekly review of the paper, or else the paper is just too much, because I'm creating multiple sheets of paper per day. I'm regularly taking them to the recycle bin.
So you are spending the time and energy to take stuff out of those other channels and duplicating them into your primary.
Yes. Which does add a lot of overhead on one hand, but it also is the one glut removing factor that actually allows work to get done. Because if I have to spend time thinking what's the next action, and I don't know which pile has the next action,
Yeah.
then it slows down everything else.
Yeah.
So, but in my personal life, I have more specialized lists. Like you mentioned, the apps. Like I just use you use drafts. I use the plain Notes app in iPad because I don't feel like I need anything else. And like that, I like that you can share it with people, and add pictures or whatever. But like my primary uses for it right now, like one of them is like Christmas gifts, which I just got done using. So throughout the year, I kind of saved gift ideas.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like an Evernote in that capacity, or like how some people use Pinterest, kind of just like collecting things over time into like these buckets. Another use is like the traditional goal list. Because, I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of success gurus, and there's only so much you can hear somebody beating you over the head saying you need to have goals, you need to have lists written down. If it's not written down, it's not real.
Right, yeah.
All this jazz. And eventually...
all this truth.
Yeah, and eventually I was just like, fine, I'll make a goal list. I have no idea what to put on it, but I'll just put stupid stuff on it just to start. So I just, standard stuff like make more money.
Yeah.
Over time, it got more specific.
Quick tangent related to that. So you started your list even though you didn't know what to put on it.
Yeah.
Right? And you just started. And it's probably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the other day, I wrote down in my book that I need to do things when they're uncomfortable to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
What prompted that for me is when I have, particularly when I'm driving or when I'm listening to a podcast or something, and I have some nugget that I want to capture, and I want to put it in my book. I want to cement it more deeply. I don't feel comfortable saying it into my iPhone so that it can transcribe it, even though oftentimes it's almost always the fastest way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the safest way if I'm driving, and just that much easier. But if there's somebody around, I don't feel comfortable doing that, because then I feel like I have to explain it. I have to do, have to provide some commentary.
This is unrelated, but remind me of this. I realized recently the biggest pet peeve I have is if I'm writing an email to someone and that person approaches me, I'm just like, get away. I can't stand you right now. I'm writing you an email.
Uh-huh.
So because I don't want that sunk cost of that email to not be valuable.
Uh-huh.
Like, I want you to walk away so I can finish emailing and telling you what I'm about to tell you. Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what our philosophies of sunk costs have done to our livelihoods. That's a whole nother episode, though.
Sure, yeah.
But, so, when that occurred to me, I dictated that into my phone right then. I said, start doing things that are uncomfortable to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
So I did that act because I realized that you have to, and this is what we hear a lot in these, you call them success gurus or something like that, is you just got to do it. You just got to push through that awkwardness and get to it. And with some people, that is creating lists or recognizing that you can't keep everything in your head or making a plan for next year.
Yeah. I think that there's something like the term like the edge of your comfort zone. Just beyond your comfort zone. And I've read some things about work where people who feel good about their jobs are working close to that edge but not too far past it, like there's a Goldilocks zone.
Ah, yes.
Or if it's too easy, they're not comfortable. If it's too hard, they're not too comfortable. But if it's challenging, right on the edge...
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think as humans, we like to be challenged, we like to grow.
Right.
Most people. But I think sometimes when it goes a little bit too far. So there's a term, I forget who coined it, but it's definitely in a book by Cal Newport. It's called
Deep Work?
It's the one before Deep Work.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's So Good They Can't Ignore You, maybe.
Okay.
Where he talks about the adjacent possible. And it's like, why do certain things occur around the globe at the same time? Well, it's because they just now can. So,
Like when multiple teams discover the same kind of scientific
Yes.
thing at roughly the same time,
yeah,
like flight.
Yeah, flight, or like the observance of oxygen molecule, or like not molecules, but atoms. It can only be observed once there were accurate enough scales.
Yeah.
Um, and then at the time, once there was accurate enough scales, multiple scientific teams bought them and measured oxygen for the first time.
Or maybe it's even the presence of some idea
Exactly.
that enables some other idea.
Yeah. So what's happening now, like in the modern space, which we'll probably get into at some point in the future, is cryptocurrency.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of well, now that we have the internet, we can have things talk across the internet. Right now that they're talking across the internet, maybe we can transact across the internet. And it's just like, well, now that we have crypto as a currency, well, what can we do with that? Oh, we can start to have trust networks like we couldn't have before. So it's all these adjacent things that start to occur.
Yeah.
And it's that same feeling of just outside the comfort zone that can occur with technology innovations too, and scientific breakthroughs, where because this exists, now this can exist. So in the same way in your personal life, once you get out of your comfort zone and do that, then your comfort zone is that much farther out, which means you have like one more slot. You can then touch something else. So as your bubble grows, you touch more possible next actions. If you want to think about it like a tree, if you played like a game or a strategy game where it's like you unlock a tech, and then after you unlock that tech, you can unlock 2 more techs,
Sure.
and it's a tree and so forth. But unless you unlock that first tech, unless you go past that first comfort zone. Another thing is like, the what once was a hobbit who lived in a hole, spends his whole life in the Shire.
Yes.
Nothing really happens to him. And then the one day he leaves, he says, "This is the farthest I've ever been." At that point, he's at the edge of his comfort zone.
Yes.
So, obviously things happen after that.
So we are both big believers in lists. But let's talk about a specific list, and that is the New Year's list.
Okay.
New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, annual plan, strategic plan, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's a list that lots of people, including us, create this time of year. And I love this time of year. This is one of my favorite times of the year. After Christmas, heading into the new year. There's so much opportunity.
It's a small time.
It is a small time. Well, it doesn't stop on New Year's Day. It continues on a little bit.
Okay.
But you just are able to think about new habits. You're able to set direction. You're able to just capture a ton of energy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Eric, how do you create your New Year list? Do you have one? Do you have one for 2018? What are you doing in this space?
Well, before I get into that, I want to talk about some of the negatives.
Some of the negatives of...
Because I think we're mostly going to be positive on this, so let's just get the negatives out of the way. So the negatives of New Year's...
On resolutions?
Yeah.
Or
so
New Year's list?
A lot of people don't like New Year's resolutions because they say they set them up for failure.
Okay.
And so one mitigating factor I've heard people say is like, instead of setting goals, set trends. Or set a vector or a direction for your life. And it's easier to manage.
I have a very emotional negative response to that statement, but okay.
Yeah, so because a lot of people say, what's the biggest one? They want to lose weight.
Yes.
So they sign up for what? Gym membership.
Yes.
Then they go just long enough to pay for the gym membership, meaning the first time, or maybe they sign up online.
Right.
And then they just never go. Or go once. And so there's lots of reasons for that. People have good intentions.
And then they get trained to try to avoid the resolutions, I think is what you're saying, and I'm just going to use the word resolutions rather than the complicated New Year's list. because they failed in the past and they don't want to fail again. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's the idea that the belief that they have that one failure equals total failure.
Sure, yeah. And I think a lot of people don't do this too, is one of the negatives, because a lot of people aren't interested in perpetual growth.
True, yeah. And the society we live in now with the internet, we get a lot of things instantaneously. And so if we can't just download weight loss
Yeah.
or buy weight loss for $1.99,
Yeah.
then we don't want to do it because the effort, it takes time, takes effort.
Sustained effort.
Right.
That's the key. Yep. Okay.
So that's the kind of the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. And you asked specifically about my list. So I will say that I made one last year what I thought was going to be for like the last time, because last year I kind of sent it out and no one was really interested, and I'm kind of like putting my goals out there on letting someone else decide whether or not I do them based on their interest level.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but if I were to make one just like on the spot, it would be lose weight.
Well, I don't know that we're asking for what the list is. It's just.
Do I have them?
So you did one last year.
I did one last year.
And you didn't get much response.
Yeah.
But you know where it is. In fact, you showed it to me earlier today. So you could access it within moments.
Yeah, I mean.
Is that right?
Because I keep a pretty good archive in my email.
Yeah, okay. When was the last time you looked at it?
I haven't looked at it this whole year.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I'm reminded of, I think, some Grant Cardone or some Tony Robbins, maybe it was Tony Robbins that talked about you should have your one level, maybe your 50,000 square foot level you should look at every quarter, your 30,000 foot level you should look at every month, and your 10,000 foot level you should look at every day, right? And
Yeah.
Grant Cardone talks about writing out your goals every single day.
Yeah.
When you wake up. So are you going to do anything? Are you going to set one for next year? Are you going to do anything differently?
What I typically do is, around the first of the year, I kind of look and see, well, what were my resolutions last year? And then I kind of see, well, what happened? Did I do them or not? Like, not having actually worked on them intentionally.
Yes.
I just want to see, like, passively, did I achieve any of my goals?
Yes.
And usually I have, because if it's something I want, typically I tend to get it. But I can't really remember for sure that I did it, or if I just did that activity for the year prior. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning of this year, I might have reviewed the beginning of 2016 and not actually made a new one for 2017. Although this is the year I do have the one on my iPhone.
Okay.
Because there's a Jim Rohn video. It's 2 hours long on YouTube. I watch it once every single year. And,
Interesting.
And I've done that for the past 3 years. If I watch it again this year, it'll be the 4th year.
So we're going to put that in the show notes.
Right. So, in that one, he hammers home, like he meets his mentor, or his soon-to-be mentor, and his mentor, the very first thing he asks him, he's like, hey, why don't you just tell me what your goals are? And he's like, just show me he's like, show me your list of your goals. He's like, what list? He's like, oh. He's like, okay, you don't have a goal list? I bet I can guess the amount of money in your bank account. And he did. So, the idea is that it's almost biblical in some ways. It's like, if you never ask for anything, if you never want anything, you'll never get anything. It's like nothing just is given to you. Like, some things are, obviously.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But, like, dramatic change does not just occur to you. Well, for the most part, you have to do things in life. It's like the adage, nothing in life's not just going to give you what you want. You have to work for it.
So you've danced around this question a lot.
What?
The question is, what are you going to do this year? You said you're going to watch well, you didn't even commit to watching the video. But are you going to make a list this year? And what's going to be different? Again, not the content.
Well, I'll tell you, recently I was pushed even farther by this whole idea of goals because I started listening to, I think it was either something, like you said, Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins said, and about just getting the goals in your face and writing them down. So I went out, and if you've ever seen like number file videos or something where he's got that brown paper, he rolls it out and they write on it. I was like, I'm just going to get some of that. They call it
craft paper?
Craft paper, yeah.
Yes.
So you can get these big craft paper rolls at Walmart, and you just roll them out, tape it onto your wall with like whatever kind of tape, and get markers and just start writing goals on your wall. So I basically did that, and it's in my bathroom. So
You did what? You wrote down a bunch of goals?
I wrote down like 4 or 5 goals. Oh, there was somebody that was talking about. No, it was our pastor. That's
Okay.
what it was. He was talking about like what are the goals you have for your marriage? What are the goals you have for your finances?
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
Like just write them down, because I bet you don't have them written down currently. And he was right. I don't. So I went home that night from church, and I went straight to Walmart. I bought the thing, I put it up on my wall, and I just wrote it down. And again, I didn't know what to write down, so I just wrote down something.
Yes.
And so it was goals like finances, weight loss. And so for a period of about 60 days, I'm tracking my weight every single day. I had goals to reduce credit card debt, and was tracking that for like 2 days, and stopped.
Okay.
And coincidentally, my debt,
On the craft paper?
yeah,
Okay.
coincidentally my debt went up, and my weight stayed about the same. But I did learn a lot.
Okay. So I'm going to be the broken record.
Yeah.
Are you going to make a list this year? Because the answer can be no.
well,
I mean, or I don't know, I suppose.
I guess I already have. I feel like I already have lists.
Okay.
I have the one on my phone. I have the one in my bathroom.
But the one on your phone was from last year.
I suppose I can start a new one.
I mean, I'm not asking you to.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just...
going to. I guess that's a good point. It's like, how do you know when to start a new list, a new goal list, or because they do age.
Sure, absolutely.
And I guess I'm not, since I'm so new to really the goal writing scenario, I haven't really got to this point yet where I'm having to ask myself, what do I do with aged lists? Do I start a new one? Even that piece of paper up there, it's getting full. What do I do? Do I take it down? What do I do with it? Do I put a new one up? You know, on my phone, it's as easy as creating a new note. I don't know. I will say this. I intellectually believe in the value of goals, but I think I'm still missing something in the core of my being. Like, it doesn't, it's not matching up. There's like a gear not connecting there. Because if I really believed it, I believe I would act differently. So I'm doing it more out of obligation to an ideal rather than out of a belief.
To someone else's ideal.
Right. Because we haven't talked about this, but you know, I've got coaches, I've got friends, I've got my wife. I'm all accountable to these people. So I do things out of obligation / accountability to those people.
Sure.
When if I were left to my own devices, I would not do these things.
Sure. Sure.
But the things that I do internalize, that I do want, I do. And without any lists.
Well, 100% of the time?
Well, let's take a micro example. I want to make some short-term money from cryptocurrency trading, and so I do actively make these lists of, I'm watching these coins, what are they doing, do I want to buy them,
Sure.
and then I execute.
Sure.
So I guess in that way I am using lists, but they're very small lists. They're like lists of 3 things or 1 thing. Maybe faster iteration. And for that I use things like Google Calendar even. Like, hey, review these 3 coins for purchase on this date.
Sure.
Or I use an app like Blockfolio to put it on the watch list, and then that's kind of a form of a list. And I'm watching, making decisions based on, am I seeing movement here, go or no go. But
Okay, well, we will have to wait and see then if that translates to any action from you going forward.
yeah, I guess. I mean, I think in between, if we do another episode, then we can obviously review. In the meantime, review the lists, make lists, and kind of. There's a podcast called Hello Internet, and at the beginning of the next episode, they always do a quick recap of what happened since the last episode.
Okay.
Regarding what they just talked about on the subject of that. So it's like a quick recap, and then they get into the next episode.
Okay.
So we could do that at the beginning of the next episode if you want, just kind of like what happened with our New Year's resolutions.
Eric, I've got a couple of our standard questions to ask you. What are you learning about right now?
Cryptocurrency.
Okay. What object has brought you joy lately?
I really want to use the same one, but let's see. Object. I really like hot water.
Hot water.
Indoor plumbing.
Yes, okay.
I mean, I'm just a big fan of it.
Yeah, okay. Hey, that's good. Okay. And then, what made you laugh recently?
Myself.
Yes. Case in point. Case in point.
No, I mean, there is a SNL skit recently about a teacher that did a spelling bee. That was pretty good.
Okay. All right, well, we'll have to link to that too.
Okay.
All right, well, that does it. Until next time.
All right. Signing off.